Hello Golden State Warriors fans, we are here once again to bring you the latest news related to our team, and I would like to emphasize how committed we are to improving our performance to achieve great results. Before we dive into this intriguing news, I kindly request you to show your support by clicking the like button, and if you are not yet subscribed to our channel, I invite you all to join us on an exciting journey. Remember to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything.
How worried should Warriors fans be after the latest Jimmy Butler report? Jimmy Butler's recent questions for the Warriors front office raise a compelling question of their own. Just how concerned should Golden State fans be? For over a decade, the Golden State Warriors have been a symbol of sustained excellence in the NBA. With 4 titles and a style of play that redefined modern basketball, they've earned their place as one of the league's most iconic dynasties. But times are changing. Led by Stephen Curry and supported by longtime teammate Draymond Green, the Warriors began the 2024-25 season with a disappointing 25-27 record. It was clear something had to shift, and fast. That's when the front office pulled the trigger on a blockbuster move, trading for Jimmy Butler. Known for his relentless playoff mindset and ability to galvanize a team, Butler brought immediate intensity. The impact was undeniable. Golden State surged to a 23-7 record post-trade, won a play-in thriller against Memphis, and pushed Houston to 7 games in the first round. But when Curry went down with an injury in Game 1 of the second round, the dream unraveled. The Warriors fell to Minnesota in just 5 games. Heading into the offseason, it was obvious, this roster needed adjustments. Rumors began to swirl, names like Al Horford and DeAnthony Melton were floated, and the possibility of waiving Gary Payton II was on the table. But the biggest question mark loomed over Jonathan Kuminga. Throughout the season, tensions simmered around Kuminga'S contract situation. Golden State reportedly offered a 3-year, $75.2 million extension. Kuminga declined. He wanted more than just money. He wanted clarity, commitment, and a say in his future. The impasse left the front office frozen. And as of now, the Warriors have made 0 off-season moves. That's where Butler re-enters the picture. With training camp just weeks away and multiple roster questions still unanswered, even the players are starting to express concern. According to NBC Sports Bay Area's Dalton Johnson, Butler recently reached out to the front office directly, asking, "What's going on here? I just want to know the plan." It wasn't an ultimatum. It wasn't drama. It was a veteran leader trying to make sense of a situation that feels increasingly uncertain. He's not alone. Sources say both Butler and Green have also checked in with Kuminga, trying to gauge where he stands, and whether a resolution is truly in sight. So, should fans be worried? It depends on your perspective. On the surface, it's unsettling to hear that your newest star is asking the same questions fans are asking online. But it also speaks volumes about Butler's leadership. A 6-time All-Star with 14 seasons under his belt, he's not just here to play, he wants to win. And to win, there needs to be a plan. The real concern lies less in Butler's questions and more in the silence from the front office. With Kuminga'S future still in limbo, and no major signings or trades to speak of, the Warriors risk entering the new season with unresolved tension and a roster that doesn't reflect the urgency of their championship window. Golden State isn't just another franchise. It's a team that has built its identity on culture, trust, and execution. And right now, those pillars seem shaky. Training camp is approaching fast, and with it, the pressure to get things right. Whether it's re-signing Kuminga, making a surprise move, or simply providing transparency, the Warriors will need to act, soon, if they want to restore confidence both inside the locker room and across Dub Nation. The clock is ticking. Butler's quiet but pointed question, "What's the plan?" has echoed throughout the organization and sparked broader conversations among fans and league insiders alike. It wasn't just a moment of frustration from a newly acquired veteran. It was a reflection of the uncertainty hanging over a franchise that, until recently, was synonymous with cohesion and vision. Internally, there's growing tension between urgency and hesitation. While the core of Curry, Green, and now Butler still gives Golden State a foundation of championship experience, the lack of clarity regarding the future, particularly with younger players like Kuminga, raises real concerns about alignment between the front office and the locker room. League executives, speaking off the record, have started to wonder whether the Warriors are caught between 2 competing timelines, one focused on contending with aging veterans, and the other on developing a younger generation that still lacks defined roles and consistent opportunities. The Kuminga situation has become emblematic of that divide. Once seen as the franchise's next rising star, Kuminga has voiced frustrations in the past about inconsistent playing time and a lack of developmental structure. The refusal to commit to him long-term has only added to speculation that Golden State may not view him as part of their core future, despite flashes of high-level performance last season. Sources close to the team have described the off-season atmosphere as tense but silent. No trade proposals have gained traction. No signings have materialized. And for a front office known in previous years for its calculated boldness, the inactivity is beginning to raise eyebrows. Analysts have pointed out that while Butler's concerns may not yet amount to a crisis, they do expose a fracture in the Warriors' current structure, a disconnect between the expectations of its veteran leaders and the actions, or inactions, of management. Draymond Green, never one to hide his thoughts, reportedly echoed Butler's sentiment in private conversations with team officials. His message was clear: without a cohesive plan in place, chemistry can't be built, and expectations become meaningless. Meanwhile, Stephen Curry, ever the steady voice of the franchise, has remained publicly silent. But those close to the team say he's monitoring the situation closely, particularly the handling of Kuminga and the lack of depth added in the offseason. With just a few elite years likely remaining in Curry's career, the question of how Golden State maximizes that window is more urgent than ever. From the outside, some fans are growing restless. Others are still trusting in the team's proven leadership. But all can agree on one thing: this isn't the Warriors' culture they've come to recognize. The uncertainty is unusual. And silence, this deep into the offseason, is unfamiliar. If Kuminga remains unsigned by the time camp opens, the pressure will intensify. If no moves are made to strengthen the bench or add veteran support, it will only fuel speculation that the Warriors may have entered a phase of quiet decline, not because of a lack of talent, but because of indecision at the top. For now, all eyes are on the front office. The players are asking questions. The fans are waiting for answers. And the clock on the 2025-26 season is ticking loudly. Jonathan Kuminga makes personal decision on social media amid ongoing contract talks with Warriors. As contract negotiations between Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors continue to stall, the 22-year-old forward has taken an unexpected personal step, one that may or may not be a message to the team, but certainly hasn't gone unnoticed. With the October 1st qualifying offer deadline looming, Kuminga'S future with the Warriors remains uncertain. While fellow 2021 draftee Moses Moody recently finalized his extension, Kuminga enters the season still unsigned. He was on track for a breakout contract year until a mid-season injury sidelined him for 31 games, during which the dynamic of the team shifted dramatically. Jimmy Butler had arrived, the rotation had changed, and Kuminga returned to a squad in transition. Now, with training camp fast approaching and Josh Giddey signing a new deal with the Bulls, the pressure is building on Golden State to make a decision. According to ESPN, the team's most recent offer is a 3-year, $75.2 million contract, with a team option in the third year. However, that's where things have hit a wall. Kuminga'S camp is reportedly pushing for a player option, a term the Warriors are reluctant to include. And while negotiations continue behind closed doors, Kuminga made a quiet but telling move. He deactivated his Instagram account, at Jonathan_Kuminga. On its own, this might seem like a small gesture. But in today's NBA, where social media presence often reflects a player's state of mind, it raised eyebrows. Was it a personal decision to eliminate distractions? A subtle signal of frustration? Or simply a break from the noise? Whatever the reason, it comes at a time when the stakes couldn't be higher for Kuminga. NBA stars like Ja Morant, Tyler Herro, and Anthony Davis have made similar moves in the past, often as a way to reset, refocus, or take control of a narrative during sensitive moments in their careers. For Kuminga, who's still developing as a professional and carving out his role in the league, this could be about mental clarity ahead of a pivotal season, or a way to shield himself from speculation as contract talks intensify. Since being drafted 7th overall in 2021, Kuminga has remained something of a mystery, an explosive athlete with elite physical tools, raw upside, and flashes of brilliance, but also lingering questions about consistency and fit. He was reportedly a personal favorite of Warriors owner Joe Lacob, who saw the pick as a long-term investment in the team's future. Yet 3 years in, the relationship feels fragile. Kuminga has grown, but his role has remained inconsistent. The team seems unsure whether to fully commit to him as part of their future core, or use his value in a potential trade. Now, as he steps back from social media, it's clear something deeper is unfolding. Whether the deactivation is symbolic or simply self-care, it comes at a moment where everything is still on the table: a new contract, a larger role, or even a change of scenery. For now, Jonathan Kuminga is silent, at least publicly. But his next move, and the Warriors' response, will speak volumes. What makes the situation even more delicate is the timing. The Warriors are entering a crucial phase, not just of the offseason, but of their franchise arc. With Stephen Curry approaching the twilight of his career and Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler both in their mid-30s, Golden State has a narrow window to compete at a championship level. Every roster decision now carries extra weight. In that context, Kuminga represents both a bridge to the future and an unresolved question in the present. Internally, there's reportedly a divide on how to handle his extension. Some within the organization view him as a long-term piece, one of the only young talents on the roster with all-star potential. Others are more cautious, pointing to his inconsistent development, occasional lapses in focus, and injury history as reasons to approach contract talks with restraint. The team's reluctance to include a player option suggests a desire to maintain control, especially given the financial flexibility needed around aging stars. But from Kuminga's side, the message is clear: he wants more than just a number. He wants trust, responsibility, and a defined place within the team's vision. This growing tension has drawn attention from around the league. Rival executives are reportedly monitoring the situation closely, knowing that a stalled extension could lead to a trade opportunity, either before the deadline or during the season. Multiple teams are believed to be interested in Kuminga's upside, particularly those in rebuilding phases that can afford to give him more freedom and playing time. For Warriors fans, it's a tough position to witness. Kuminga's flashes of brilliance, his defensive potential, his explosiveness in transition, his improved decision-making, have made him a fan favorite. Yet his trajectory within the franchise has never quite settled. He's been in and out of the rotation, used in short bursts rather than trusted stretches, and consistently floated in trade rumors. Now, with his social media silence and the contract talks hitting a wall, there's a sense that this is more than just a negotiation, it's a moment of truth. If the Warriors ultimately choose not to meet Kuminga's demands, they risk losing a player they once saw as central to their post-dynasty transition. On the other hand, if they overextend financially or structurally, they may find themselves locked into a commitment that doesn't align with their short-term goals. The next few weeks will be telling. If no agreement is reached before the season starts, tensions could spill into the locker room and impact team chemistry, particularly if Kuminga sees limited minutes or feels undervalued. Conversely, if the Warriors make a move to reassert their direction, either by re-signing him or executing a trade, it will send a strong message about the identity they're committing to moving forward. For now, Kuminga's Instagram account remains offline, and his voice is notably absent. But his silence, in the current context, is louder than any post. Golden State will need to act, decisively and soon, before a situation that's currently simmering quietly begins to boil over. How worried should Warriors fans be after Jimmy Butler's latest comments? Jimmy Butler's recent questions directed at the Warriors front office raise a larger concern. Just how worried should Golden State fans be right now? Let's start with some context. The Golden State Warriors have been a pillar of excellence in the NBA for over a decade. With 4 championships and some of the most entertaining basketball the league has ever seen, they've earned their place among the most iconic franchises in sports history. Led by Stephen Curry and anchored by Draymond Green, the Warriors opened the 2024-25 NBA season with a disappointing 25-27 record. The urgency was clear. Something had to change, and that change came in the form of a high-stakes trade for Jimmy Butler. Known across the league for his playoff intensity and winning mentality, Butler was exactly the kind of player the Warriors needed to right the ship. And at first, it worked. The team surged to a 23-7 finish, won the play-in game against Memphis, and pushed the Houston Rockets to a dramatic 7-game series. But a Curry injury in the second round proved too much to overcome. Golden State fell to the Timberwolves in 5 games. Heading into the offseason, one thing was obvious: changes were needed. There were early rumblings about potential moves. Al Horford, DeAnthony Melton, and letting go of Gary Payton II were all on the table. But the biggest issue looming over the front office? Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga's situation became a season-long standoff. Golden State reportedly offered a 3-year, $75.2 million extension, an offer Kuminga declined. He's been seeking both stability and a clearer role in his future, something the Warriors have hesitated to commit to. As a result, the Warriors' offseason has been eerily quiet. No major acquisitions. No trades. No answers. And now, even some players are beginning to speak up. Enter Jimmy Butler. According to NBC Sports Bay Area's Dalton Johnson, Butler himself reached out to the front office with a direct question: "What's going on here? I just want to know the plan." Butler and Draymond Green have even contacted Kuminga directly, trying to get a read on where things stand. So, should fans be concerned? At first glance, it might seem alarming that a recently acquired star is already asking questions about the team's direction. But let's not panic just yet. Butler is a 6-time All-Star and 14-year veteran. He's not the kind of player who sits back quietly. He leads with accountability and expects clarity. His questions aren't necessarily a sign of discontent. They're a sign that he cares about where this team is heading. Still, the real red flag isn't Butler's inquiry. It's the lack of progress overall. With training camp just weeks away, the Warriors have some huge decisions to make, and time is running out. Kuminga'S unresolved contract, the silence in free agency, and the overall uncertainty have created a cloud over what should be a fresh start. If Golden State wants to re-establish itself as a contender, the organization needs to act, and soon. Chemistry takes time to build, and the 2025-26 season waits for no one. The clock is ticking. As the Warriors head into the final days before training camp, the tension surrounding the organization has only intensified. The stalled contract negotiations with Jonathan Kuminga continue to cast a shadow over the team's offseason. The front office reportedly offered a 3-year deal worth approximately $75 million, including a team option in the final year. Kuminga, however, has declined, reportedly seeking more control over his future, preferably through a player option. This standoff hasn't just delayed Kuminga'S extension. It has effectively frozen the Warriors' ability to make other meaningful roster moves. With the uncertainty looming, several veteran signings and potential trades have been put on hold, leaving key roster spots unfilled and raising questions about the team's direction heading into the new season. What's perhaps more concerning is that this internal unease is no longer confined to the front office. Veteran players, including Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, have reportedly reached out to Kuminga personally. More notably, Butler has taken the unusual step of directly questioning team leadership, asking what the plan is. It's rare for a high-profile player to speak so candidly so soon after joining a franchise, especially one with championship pedigree. This brings up several pressing issues. Lack of roster clarity. The Warriors haven't made significant additions this offseason, and with training camp on the horizon, the absence of new signings or strategic moves could hurt their early season chemistry. Impact on locker room dynamics. When established leaders like Butler begin asking questions, it often reflects a larger concern within the locker room. Players want to know who's in, who's out, and what they're building toward. Without that clarity, uncertainty can seep into preparation and focus. Kuminga'S leverage in future. Kuminga could choose to play out the final year of his current deal and become an unrestricted free agent next summer. That option gives him freedom but comes with risk, both personally and for the team. If the Warriors lose him for nothing or at a reduced value, it would be a significant blow to their long-term plans. Long-term implications. This impasse affects more than just this off-season. It delays the process of establishing rotations, defining roles, and developing team identity heading into what could be a pivotal season. Any disruption to team chemistry or cohesion now could have consequences well into the year. At its core, the situation isn't just about one player or one contract. It's about the Warriors' ability to move forward with clarity and purpose. For over a decade, this has been a franchise built on synergy, from the front office to the bench. But as of now, that harmony feels uncertain. There's still time to resolve the Kuminga issue and fill out the roster. But the longer the indecision lingers, the more it threatens to derail what should be a reset year for Golden State. With training camp rapidly approaching, the team is at a crossroads, and how they respond may define the season ahead. Warriors eyeing ideal partner for Jonathan Kuminga could spell trouble for Draymond Green, insider warns. The Golden State Warriors still haven't resolved the ongoing contract saga with rising star Jonathan Kuminga. After reportedly turning down a 3-year, $75.2 million extension offer, Kuminga'S future in the Bay remains uncertain. One potential shift that could shake things up? Converting his team option into a player option, giving Kuminga more control and potentially changing the direction of the franchise. If the Warriors manage to keep Kuminga in the fold, NBC Sports NBA insider Dalton Johnson believes there's a clear path to unlocking his full potential, and it all starts with putting the right players around him. Al Horford, the key to Kuminga'S breakout? According to Johnson, bringing in veteran big man Al Horford could be exactly what Kuminga needs to elevate his game. Horford's ability to space the floor could open up lanes and offensive opportunities that have been lacking, especially when paired with Kuminga'S athleticism and slashing ability. But there's a catch. That move could come at the expense of Draymond Green's role, forcing the former Defensive Player of the Year into a reduced role off the bench. Honestly, if you're bringing in someone like Al Horford, the only real scenario I see working is Draymond shifting into more of an Andre Iguodala-type role, Johnson said. Kuminga needs a big who can stretch the floor, and Draymond just doesn't fit that mold anymore in the modern lineup. In this vision, Green would take on a leadership-heavy lower minutes role, similar to Iguodala's during the Warriors' championship runs, guiding younger players while sacrificing some of his on-court prominence. A roster full of questions. Steve Kerr now faces one of the toughest lineup puzzles of his coaching career. With rumors swirling that Horford could become the Warriors' starting center, Green would likely slide over to power forward, unless Kuminga claims that spot. And it doesn't end there. The possibility of adding Jimmy Butler only complicates things further. With overlapping skill sets and positional redundancies, Kerr might have to make some bold decisions about who starts and who sits. Steph and JK can definitely work together, Johnson noted. There's good chemistry there in pick and rolls and transition. But if you throw Jimmy Butler into the mix, it gets messy. You're looking at some serious role overlap. While Green was already moved to the bench at times last season, permanently replacing him with Kuminga could signal a bigger philosophical shift for Golden State, moving away from its aging core in favor of younger, more dynamic options. It's a high-risk, high-reward scenario. Kuminga brings speed, explosiveness, and untapped offensive upside, elements that could breathe new life into the Warriors system. But such a move would also mean significant sacrifices from the veterans who helped build the dynasty. The front office, Kerr, and the locker room will all need to buy in if this transition is going to work. The question now is, are the Warriors ready to evolve, or are they clinging to a golden past? The stakes are rising. Kuminga contract standoff creates ripple effects across Warriors roster. The uncertainty surrounding Jonathan Kuminga's contract situation continues to send shockwaves through the Golden State Warriors offseason. After reportedly rejecting a 3-year, $75.2 million offer, Kuminga's future remains unresolved, creating a domino effect that could redefine player roles, team dynamics, and long-term strategy. As training camp approaches, the clock is ticking, and the front office is facing mounting pressure to act. New developments add fuel to the fire. The latest discussions have focused on Kuminga's desire for more control over his future, including a player option instead of a team option and possible trade protections. If the two sides fail to reach an agreement, Kuminga could opt to play under the 1-year qualifying offer, making him an unrestricted free agent next summer. That route would carry considerable risk for the Warriors, who would face losing a young ascending talent for no return. Meanwhile, this unresolved situation is stalling other key decisions. Several veteran free agents reportedly remain in limbo, waiting to see how the Kuminga situation unfolds before committing to roles that may shift depending on how the roster shapes up. Roster construction becoming increasingly complicated. Should the Warriors retain Kuminga and aim to build around him, the front office may need to reshape the current roster, including the roles of key veterans like Draymond Green. The idea of adding a veteran stretch big like Al Horford is gaining traction, largely because of the potential to create better floor spacing for Kuminga's athletic, slashing style. However, incorporating Horford could create friction within the lineup. Draymond Green, once a cornerstone of the Warriors' small ball success, would likely see his minutes and responsibilities reduced. Some analysts suggest he may need to transition into a role similar to Andre Iguodala in the later years of the dynasty, less focused on stats and more on mentorship and situational impact. At the same time, rumors of a potential acquisition of Jimmy Butler have complicated the situation even further. Butler's presence would bring high-level two-way talent, but also overlaps in skill set and leadership presence with both Green and Kuminga. Balancing those dynamics in a tight rotation could challenge Steve Kerr's ability to maintain cohesion and define roles clearly. Steve Kerr faces a defining challenge. Kerr is now tasked with reimagining a lineup that could look very different by opening night. If Kuminga earns a starting role, and especially if a new frontcourt partner like Horford joins, Kerr may be forced to make bold choices, including moving Green to the bench or experimenting with smaller, more versatile units. These adjustments won't come easy. Green, while no longer in his prime, still brings elite defensive instincts and playmaking vision. Relegating him to a lesser role risks disrupting locker room chemistry unless managed carefully. The coaching staff must also consider the long-term arc of the franchise. Leaning into Kuminga as a central piece would represent a pivot toward youth and development, a clear departure from the veteran-heavy identity that delivered 4 championships. On the other hand, clinging too tightly to the past may hinder the evolution the team needs to remain competitive in a fast-changing Western Conference. Scenarios taking shape. The Warriors are staring down 3 primary paths. Kuminga extension plus lineup shift. The team commits to Kuminga with a more player-friendly contract, adds a frontcourt piece to support his growth, and reassigns Green to a leadership-based role with reduced minutes. This route bets on Kuminga's rise and shifts the identity of the team toward a more dynamic, athletic future. No deal. Kuminga takes qualifying offer. If no agreement is reached, Kuminga could play 1 more season and test free agency in 2026. The Warriors would risk losing him for nothing or being forced into a mid-season trade to recover value. Trade Kuminga before the deadline. A more dramatic move would be using Kuminga as a trade chip to acquire another star or high-level contributor, prioritizing short-term competitiveness over long-term growth. Impact on the core. The decisions made now could permanently reshape the Warriors' identity. For Stephen Curry, the team's franchise anchor, time is of the essence. He remains elite, but he's approaching the final stretch of his peak years. The organization must decide whether to build for the next chapter, potentially led by Kuminga, or to double down on maximizing the current window, even if it means parting ways with a key piece of the future. Draymond Green finds himself at the center of that conflict. His willingness to adapt will be critical, but so will the organization's clarity in defining his role moving forward. The same applies to any veteran additions. Their fit must complement Kuminga's development, not stall it. In short, the Warriors' path forward hinges not only on numbers and contracts, but on leadership, vision, and the courage to evolve.